Okay. Jayarada Madhav is done, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes,
Done.
Mataji. It's done.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in for our Srimad Bhagavatam study session. Let's begin with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Pankajanaභaya Namo Pankajamaline Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Tvadabhayam Pashye Yatra Mrityu Parasparam Krishna Krishna Mahabaho Bhaktanam Abhayankara Tvameko Dhayamananam Apavargosi Samshrute Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadhaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnupadhaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Niti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namosute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaurkishoraya Sakshat Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodhaya Sachidanandanamine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravirbhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhama Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripadamam Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Aradhya Bhagavan Rajeshatanaya Stadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Puranamamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Madamidam Tatra Dharana Para मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरूं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरं हरिः ओं तत्सत् गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तडालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः Hare Krishna. So, thank you all for joining in for our Srimad Bhagavatam study session today. We are going to discuss two verses today. Canto 5, chapter 1, verses 5 and 6. That we are going to study today. So, just to give a context, we are going to speak about how Priya Vrata, right? Swayambhuva Manu had two sons and three daughters. We studied about Uttanapada and his descendants, right? How Dhruv Maharaj, how he went to the forest and he got guided by Narada Muni, and how he got darshan of the Lord, Uttanapada, and his brother Priyavrata. It's about him that we want to study today. How he, being a grahastha, yet he was attached to the lotus feet of the Lord. So there is an inquiry how, being a grahastha, he could perform devotional service so nicely without being attached to his family, without being attached to sense gratification. That's what we'll read. Two very, very important verses. The question is being answered. So that's what we'll study today. And of course, you also know Swayambhuva had three daughters, right? Prasuti, Akuti, and Devahuti. Those pastimes also we've already read. Right? And how we find that all of the progeny of Swayambhuva Manu, they were all pure devotees of the Lord, isn't it? So let's quickly go on to what we're going to study today, text 5 and text 6. Okay, so there's no need to recite the verses actually, or repeat the verses. So I will quickly recite the verses because it's a difficult verse to recite actually. So we'll try to recite the best of my ability. We'll try to recite this, and then we will quickly move on to synonyms, translation, and purport. Devotees would like to read can raise your hands, and then we will read synonyms, translation, and purport. Shri Shuka Uvacha Badam Muktam Bhagavata Uttama Shlokasya Shrimad Charanaravindamakaranda Rasavishita Chetaso Bhagavata Paramahamsa Daita Katham Kinchit Antaraya Vihatam Swam Shivatamam Padayim Na Prayena Hinmanti. Okay, somebody can read the synonyms. Shilpa Mataji, synonyms. We have three hands up, so yeah, maybe we can just split the verse only and do. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji Danvat Pranam.
Last one.
Synonyms. Sri Sukha Uvacha, Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Badham, correct, Ukatam, what you have said, Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead, Uttama Shlokaya, who is praised with excellent verses, Srimad Charana Arvinda, of the feet, which are just like the most beautiful fragrant lotus flowers, Makaranda, honey, or rose in the nectar, Avishta, absorbed, Chetasaha, whose hearts.
Say, Mataji, rase in the nectar. That's a Sanskrit word.
Sorry, Hare Krishna. Rase in the nectar, Avishita, absorbed, Chetasaha, whose hearts, Bhagavata, to the devotees, Paramahansa, liberated persons, Daitya, pleasing, Katham, glorification, Kinchit, sometimes, Antararaya, by impediments, Vihatam, checked, Swam, own, Shivatamam, most exalted, Padavim, position, na, do not, Prayena, almost always, Hinvanti, give up. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Translation, Vishwanu Kanya Mataji can read.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Dandat
pranams.
Pranam. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, what you have said is correct. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised in eloquent, transcendental verses by such exalted personalities as Brahma, are very pleasing to great devotees and liberated persons. One who is attached to the nectarian honey of the Lords of Lotus feet and whose mind is always absorbed in his glories may sometimes be checked by some impediment, but he still never gives up the exalted position he has acquired. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, purport. Sharmila Mataji, please go ahead.
Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Sukadeva Goswami accepted both of the king's propositions that a person who is advanced in Krishna consciousness cannot embrace materialistic life again, and that one who has embraced materialistic life cannot take up Krishna consciousness at any stage of his existence. Although accepting both these statements, Shukadeva Goswami qualified them by saying that a person who has once absorbed his mind in the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead may sometimes be influenced by impediments, but he still does not give up his exalted devotional position. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, there are two kinds of impediments to devotional service. The first is an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. This is called Vaishnava Aparadha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned his devotees not to commit Vaishnava Aparadha, which he described as the mad elephant offense. When a mad elephant enters a beautiful garden, it destroys everything, leaving a barren field. Similarly, the power of Vaishnava Aparadha is so great that even an advanced devotee becomes almost devoid of his spiritual assets if he commits it. Since Krishna consciousness is eternal, it cannot be destroyed altogether, but advancement may be checked for the time being. Thus, Vaishnava Aparadha is one kind of impediment to devotional service. Sometimes, however, the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee desires to impede one's devotional service. For example, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were formerly Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers in Vaikunta. But by the desire of the Lord, they became his enemies for 3 lives. Thus, the desire of the Lord is another kind of impediment. But in both cases, the pure devotee, once advanced in Krishna consciousness, cannot be lost. Following the orders of his superiors, Swayambhuva and Lord Brahma, Priyavrata accepted family life, but this did not mean he lost his position in devotional service. Krishna consciousness is perfect and eternal, and therefore it cannot be lost under any circumstances. Because the material world is full of obstructions to advancement in Krishna consciousness, there may appear to be many impediments. Yet Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declares in the Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Kaunteya Pratijani. He name bhaktya pranashyati. Once one has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be lost. In this verse, the word Shivata Mam is very significant. Shivata Mam means the most auspicious. The devotional path is so auspicious that a devotee cannot be lost under any circumstances. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. Partha Naiveha Namutra Binashas Tasya Vidyate. My dear Arjuna, for a devotee, there is no question of being lost, either in this life or in the next. Bhagavad Gita 6.40. In Bhagavad Gita 6.43, the Lord clearly explains how this is so. Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate tato bhuya samsiddhau kuru nandana. By the order of the Lord, a perfect devotee sometimes comes to this material world like an ordinary human being. Because of his previous practice, such a perfect devotee naturally becomes attached to devotional service, apparently without cause. Despite all kinds of impediments due to surrounding circumstances, he automatically preserves in no perseveres in devotional service and gradually advances until he once again becomes perfect. Bilvamangala Thakura had been an advanced devotee in his previous life, but in his next life he became greatly fallen and was attached to a prostitute. Suddenly, however, his entire behavior was changed by the words of the very prostitute who had so much attracted him, but he became a great devotee. In the lives of exalted devotees, there are many such instances proving that once one has taken to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be lost. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktya pranashyati. The fact is, however, that one becomes a devotee when he is completely freed from all reactions to sinful life. As Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita 7.28, Esham tu antagata papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of illusion engage themselves in my service with determination. On the other hand, as Prahlada Maharaja said, Matirna Krishne Parata Svatova Mito Abhipadyeta Graha Vritanam. A person who is too attached to materialistic family life, home, family, wife, children, and so on, cannot develop Krishna consciousness. These apparent contradictions are resolved in the life of a devotee by the grace of the Supreme Lord, and therefore a devotee is never bereft of his position on the path of liberation, which is described in this verse as Shivatamam Padavim. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Shivatamam Padavim. Shiva we know means, Shiva means auspiciousness, right? Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna. Padavim means post, right? Somebody who is situated in the same position as that of Lord Shiva, being very attracted to Lord Krishna, being dedicating the entire life in service of Lord Krishna. Such a person is called Shivatamam Padavim, right? That is, he is almost like Lord Shiva. Nobody can become Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a person, right? But people can become Brahma if they conduct 100 yagyas or perfect their lives. And if they aspire, they can become Brahma, because Brahma is a position, right? But Brahma bhuvane loka punar avartino Arjuna kshine punye martya lokam vishanti. So in this way, one can perform a lot of pious activities. One can become Brahma, but then when the pious credits exhaust, right? Kshine punye, right? When the punya gets kshina, that means when the punya gets exhausted, martya lokam vishanti, they come back to this material world. So that is not Shivatanam Padavim, right? What is Shivatanam Padavim? Shivatanam Padavim means the position in devotion. One is so much attracted to the Lord that in spite of so many obstacles in one's life, one does not want to give up one's affection for the Lord, one's devotional service to the Lord. And that's what even Lord Shiva does, right? When the churning of the ocean took place, right? When between the devas and the asuras, when there was a fight, at that time, when Krishna took the form of Vasuki the serpent, when Krishna took the form of Varaha avatar, and then Krishna brought up the earth to the orbit, and then later on there was a big fight between Hiranyaksha and the Lord and Lord Vishnu, and then Hiranyakashipu and Lord Vishnu. So like that, at that particular time, when that churning of the milk ocean was happening, after that fight, then again the asuras, although Vishnu killed Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu because of some aparadh done by Indra towards his spiritual master, they were still not getting the position until the Lord appeared as Vamanadev, right? And he took, with the 3 steps of land, he took over the position of the heavenly planets for the Devatas. Until such time, the Asuras were only ruling. Devatas were going hither, thither and hiding themselves here and there, right? So there is no position in this world which is permanent, right? Whether it is of the demigods, whether it is of the, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, or even that of Brahma, right? But what is eternal position? It is that of Shiva, right? Shiva is eternally, constitutionally situated as the greatest of the devotees. That's why we say Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, right? But Shiva is not a position. So what does it mean, Padavim? Shivatanam Padavim. It means the consciousness is to serve the Lord in all circumstances, right? So Priyavrata Maharaj, he is said to be in Shivatanam Padavim. Why? Because he had got so many opportunities to enjoy. He had a beautiful wife, he had wonderful children. There was so much opportunity for him to perform sense gratification. He had so much opulence, he was a king, right? But he did not want to do anything. Although he performed the role of being a king, he performed excellently well, the role of being a husband, the role of being a father, etc., etc. But what did he also do, which gave him the Shivatanam Padavim? It means that he was always attracted towards the lotus feet of the Lord. He was always attracted to performing devotional service under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here Prabhupada mentions the same verse twice in the purport. What is that verse he mentions? Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktaha pranashyati. O Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, declare that my devotee never perishes. Right? So somebody even Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, he was also dressed very opulently. right? And Gadadhar Pandit, when he saw him, he was thinking, how can this be a pure devotee of the Lord? He's dressed so opulently. He was having a mirror also, and he was just seeing himself in the mirror. He was dressed so opulently, nice chadar and everything. So Gadadhar Pandit thought like that, and Mukunda, he saw he understood what was going on in the mind of Gadadhar Pandit. And what did he do? He just recited these two verses, right? Barha Pidam Kanakavarpusham, and then also this verse which talks about Putana. Ahobakiyam Stanakala Kutam, right? So when of course, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is such an exalted devotee of the Lord, he immediately understood the meaning of the verse when Mukunda chanted those prayers. And what did he do? Immediately he went into transcendental ecstasy. He started rolling on the ground. He started pulling his hair. He started throwing his chadar, rolling on the ground. Tears are flowing down from his eyes. And when Gadadhar Pandit saw that, he understood, oh my God, I've committed a great Vaishnava aparadh. I could not understand. I just went by his external appearance. He's dressed so opulently. Right? So these devotees, although externally may seem like materialistic people, they are attached to Krishna so much that externally, whatever they may seem like, internally their heart is attached to Krishna. And that means Shivatanam Padavim. Right? When our heart is sold out to Krishna, when our heart does not have any engagement other than chanting Hare Krishna, other than performing devotional service to the Lord, right? And Prabhupada also says, right, there is no difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. Everybody does the same work. Everybody wakes up in the morning, everybody takes bath, everybody goes to office, everybody performs their duties, evening everybody comes back, spends time with the family, everybody goes shopping, right? Everybody buys things, for themselves, right? So everything is the same. But what distinguishes a devotee and a non-devotee is because a devotee performs the same activities, but in his consciousness, he is performing it for the pleasure of the Lord. When a devotee goes shopping also, he thinks, oh, these flowers are so beautiful. It'll look very nice on my Gauranitai deity, so let me buy some flowers. Oh, this dress material is very nice. Let me purchase some dress material. For the Lord also, right? When I am purchasing for Deepavali for myself, I also purchase nice dress for the Lord. So I decorate the Lord. And when the Lord is satisfied, then all of our indriyas are also satisfied, right? Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. So a devotee need not do anything different. A devotee does it with a different consciousness, wanting to serve the Lord, wanting to ensure that his family, his friends, his relatives, they're all taking little steps, or gradually they are moving towards Lord Sri Krishna. Right? If that is the consciousness of a devotee, that devotee can be called Shivatanam Padavim. So that Padavi or that position is not a position to be filled because anybody can take that position. Why? Because that position is open to innumerable living entities who are surrendering to Krishna, who are surrendering to wanting to serve Krishna, who don't have any attachment to the material world. Anashaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandhaha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchate. Yukta Vairagya means you are renounced, not externally. I'll not use this laptop, I'll not use this mobile, I'll not use this speaker, I'll not use this book. They're all made of material things. I'm not going to use it. That's Mayavadi. Right? Because we think that this cannot be used in the service of Krishna. Why? Because it is Jada. Right? But Prabhupada has taught us this very wonderful concept of Yukta Vairagya. Right? When utilizes everything, but uses it in the service of the Lord. That is Shivatanam Padavim. Not externally renouncing things, but utilizing everything in the service of the Supreme Lord. So we're talking about that churning of the ocean, right? At that time, Lord Shiva appeared when there is halahal, when this poison is coming out. Lord Shiva, without a second, he did not even think for a second. He wanted to serve Lord Vishnu so much, immediately drank the poison, right? And what did Mother Parvati do? She held the throat of Lord Shiva. And that way the poison got stuck in the throat and he came to be known as Nilakanta Mahadev, isn't it? So, devotees of the Lord don't think, oh, should I do this service? Oh, if nobody else does it, then only I'll do that service, right? If there's any menial service, any service and opportunity is there, a devotee wants to immediately do it. That is Shivatanam Padavim. That means, if I'm focused on wanting to serve Guru Gauranga, Radha Krishna, that is Shivatanam Padavim, because that is the consciousness of Lord Shiva. That is the consciousness with which Lord Shiva does every service, right? Why should Lord Shiva, who is such a pure devotee of the Lord, who is greatest of the Vaishnavas, why should he go to the crematorium? Why should he dress his body in ashes? Why should he put himself in charge of Tamoguna? right? Because the lowest of the people, tamoguna people, request the highest of the devotees for their deliverance, right? The lowest of the people require greatest of the help, isn't it? So Lord Shiva has taken up this position, right, under the instruction of Lord Vishnu, under the instruction of Lord Krishna, to deliver the most fallen people of this age of Kali, right? The position that Nityananda Prabhu has taken. So he is also Shivatanam Padami. The position that Haridas Thakur took, right? He himself was born as a Mohammedan, and yet he was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare 300,000 times a day. He is also in Shivatanam Paramim. Why? Because in all odds, right? Whether there is a prostitute who is coming to attract, to pull him down, or if there is a, very, very high levels of opulence, wealth, there is opportunity for sense gratification so much, right? Sometimes it's very easy. We don't have anything to give up, and to practice devotional service is very easy. You don't have anything, right? But to have everything, to be in the midst of all the opulence, to get opportunities for sense gratification, yet to reject the sense gratificatory propensities and to engage in the service of the Lord, Shivatanam Padavim. Right? It is also said, Prabhupada tells in one lecture, that everybody worships Lord Shiva. If they want to get a big house, if they want to get a beautiful wife, if they want to get a nice mobile phone, whatnot of this material world, what do? They worship Lord Shiva. Why? Because Lord Shiva is Ashutosh. He is very, very easily pleased. Yeah, everybody worships Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva himself does not have a palace for himself, right? He just lives in Kailash, and he himself does not dress himself opulently. What does he wear? He simply wears a tiger skin. He puts himself, ashes on all over his body. He goes and stays in crematorium and all those places where Tamoguna people are all residing. Some or the other, to give them opportunities to become devotees, right? And if somebody prays to Lord Shiva, that give me what is best, right? What you think is the best. Right? I always mention this almost in every class because it's very, very important. Some people say, I'm the devotee of Lord Shiva. Right? Prabhupada says, and Krishna himself says, nobody can be a devotee of Lord Shiva. Right? Kamastasya hritajnana prapadyate anya devataha. So if we are worshipping Shiva, if we are worshipping Saraswati Devi, if we are worshipping Kartikeya, if we are worshipping Ganesha, that means we have some material desires to be fulfilled. We can look at our own lives. When have we worshipped Kartikeya? When have we worshipped Ganesha? Right? There is one Ganesha temple in Chennai, where people go and break a coconut and they buy 35 rupees coconut and they want a 35 million job in the United States. Right? So, in this way, people go to the devatas when their heart and mind are completely captured with kama, lust. Kamastaste hritajnana prapadyate anya devataha. When the Maya Apurata Jnana, they say, right? There are four kinds of people who approach Krishna also. Right? If they approach Krishna is good, but when most of the people don't approach Krishna, most of the people approach the demigods. And they approach the demigods and they say, I'm a devotee of Ganesha, I'm a devotee of Lord Shiva. But Prabhupada says, there cannot be. Krishna himself says, right? Kamasasya hritajnana prapadyate anya devataha. Those who worship the demigods, they worship the demigods only for a materialistic purpose, for some lusty desire to be fulfilled. But those who are in Shivatanam Padavim, they worship the Lord for the Lord's pleasure. They worship the Lord because it pleases the Lord. They may not like to do it. Right? Most of us don't like to wake up during Brahma Muhurta time. Yet we wake up in Brahma Muhurta and chant Hare Krishna. Why? Because it gives pleasure to our gurus. Because it gives pleasure to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Because it gives pleasure to Radha Krishna. So like that. And here, very interestingly, 2 points are mentioned by Prabhupada. Right? One is one's own desire to enjoy, because of which one falls down. Right? And that is, and also because one commits Vaishnava Aparadh, right? That is because of self-afflicted, right? I perform something wrong. Because of that, I want to enjoy independent of the Lord. I commit Vaishnava Aparadh. I try to enjoy sense gratification independent of the Lord. I fall down, right? Such kind of people, they have to evolve. And then it is only possible by the blessings of a devotee, right? That they give opportunity to devotional service, and that Ajnana Sukriti enables that person to come into bhakti. Otherwise, very difficult. For somebody who is very, very attached to sense gratification, very, very difficult to take up Krishna consciousness. Second point, what Prabhupada mentions here is very, very interesting. The second point is, Prabhupada says, the desire of the Lord, that there are some impediments. Why? Because Jaya and Vijaya, Prabhupada gives example. Jaya and Vijaya, they are pure devotees of the Lord, engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. Yet, when the Lord wants to enjoy Viryaras, what does he do? He does not enjoy Viri Ras with anybody and everybody. Right? To enjoy some rasa with the Lord, one has to be a pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord will not have any kind of rasa with people who are non-devotees. Right? Even the fighting rasa or the Viri rasa of the Lord that the Lord wants to enjoy, He wants devotees to take up the position of enmity. Right? That's why Jaya and Vijaya, they became Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. They became Shishupala, Dantavakra. They became Jagai, Madai. Right? They became Ravana and Kumbhakarna. So in this way, when the Lord comes, when He wants to fight also, only devotees can take up the position of even fighting with the Lord. But the advantageous position is that if somebody is serving the Lord, somebody is attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, even if they become demons, they cannot forget the Lord. Right? Whether it is any of these demons, Hiranyakashipu is always thinking, who is a person who is giving this power to my son? How is my son so fearless? And his son is telling him, the person from whom I am getting the power is the same person from whom you are getting the power. So continuously, what are they doing? They're discussing about Krishna. But however, it is unfavorable. Right? So that is the reason it is mentioned here. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, even if he has been cursed for a particular reason. Right? We also see in Chitraketu Maharaj's pastime. Right? Chitraketu Maharaj, he just comments, as a friendly gesture, because he's a friend of Lord Shiva. He just says, oh Lord Shiva, you are giving a wonderful lecture on Vairagya, but you are having Parvati on your lap. Right? Shiva was not angry because Shiva took it. Because Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Lord, and he knows that nobody can speak in a way. And Chitraketu Maharaj is a wonderful devotee. A devotee can never speak in a way that is offending or wanting to cause Vaishnava aparad. Right? He just spoke in a friendly way. But Parvati took offense, isn't it? And it seems that Parvati cursed Chitraketu Maharaj and he became a demon. But whom did he become? He became Vritrasura. Even in the body of the demon, he was speaking wonderful philosophy. He was telling Indra, kill me. Right? So that I can go back home, back to Golokdham. Right? So in that way, even if a person is cursed due to some circumstantial thing, even if a pure devotee of the Lord gets cursed, what does the devotee do? That devotee may become a demon, the devotee may go to the hellish planets, the devotee may go anywhere, but he will not forget the Lord. That is the causeless mercy of the Lord. That's why Krishna is asking Arjuna to declare, Kaunteya pratijanihi nami bhaktaha pranashyati. My devotee will never perish. Does it mean the devotee will never die? No. Anybody who is born in this world has to die. But what does not perish? The bhakti does not. Such a person will always remember Krishna by the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna. Right? Whether even it's Bharat Maharaj, he fell down due to his compassion to a deer, he fell down. He became Jada Bharata, he became a deer. He became an animal. Yet, what did the Lord do? The Lord gave him remembrance. Mata smritir jnanam apohanam. So the Lord gave him the remembrance. So Kaunteya pratijanihi nam bhakta pranashati. Whatever little devotional service we do, that stays to our credit eternally. And the Lord will always protect us. Niha vikramanaashosti pratyavayo na vidyate. Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Right? Swalpam api asya dharmasya. Right? Live in little bit of dharma. Swadharma, Sanatana Dharma that we do for the pleasure of the Lord, what will happen to us? We will definitely continue from where we have left off. So that is the special potency that Krishna has accorded for bhakti. It is not available for any other kind of, yoga. For example, somebody is spending 40 years in performing Ashtanga yoga and is almost perfected. He's almost perfected. But what happens? Such a person has not attained, you have the, what do you have? Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. Right? He has crossed all the stages, but he has not come to the Samadhi stage. What happens? He dies. What happens? Again, he has to practice. He may have an inclination towards doing yoga next life. He has to again practice Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara. Right? But a devotee of the Lord, when he comes into contact, I remember his only Jayapataka Swami Ishla Guru Maharaj, he told that in San Francisco, when he was just going from one place to another, suddenly he saw a group of devotees. Right? The devotees were selling Bhagavad Gita. Right? And they were all wearing nice tilak. Right? When before they could approach him, when Guru Maharaj saw them, immediately Guru Maharaj started running. He was saying, I don't know what happened to me. Because his faces seemed very familiar. And Guru Maharaj could not comprehend at that time. Right? So he started running very far away. And then later on he contemplated, Why did I run away? I mean, why were there those people so familiar to me? Why did I run away? Then immediately, Guru Maharaj thought, yes, I should go and I should meet them. But when he went back all the way running, he could not find them. And later on, we all know how in the San Francisco Rath Yatra, Jayananda Prabhu actually engaged Guru Maharaj in the Rath Yatra Seva, isn't it? And after that, we know in Malaysia, at least when I was there in Malaysia, at least 10-15 Rath Yatras take place in a year, and Guru Maharaj used to attend all of them, whether it is Penang or Kuala Lumpur. So like that, when a devotee is has come down to deliver people, or when a devotee has completed 90% of bhakti yoga or is not completed, what happens? He commences immediately from 91%. That's what Krishna says. Neha Bikrama Nashosti. There is no Nasha. Pratyavayone vidyate. Swalpam api yasya dharma. Even if I have done only 20% of devotional service, I will continue from 21% in my next life, right? But that's not the case for that's not the case for either Ashtanga yoga or even Jnana yoga, right? That is an exclusive thing or the benediction that Krishna says only for Bhakti yoga. Kaunteya pratijanihi nami bhaktaha pranashyati, right? The bhakti of my devotee will never perish, right? Krishna is not promising about the material body. Material body is bound to die. Just like a rice, we buy rice dal, it comes with an expiry date. This body also comes with an expiry date. It's only that our expiry date is not written on our forehead or somewhere else, right? But those provisions that we get, they have an expiry date which is written. But our body also has an expiry date, right? And then Prabhupada also gives an example of Bilva Mangal Thakur, isn't it? He was so attracted to Chintamani, right? What did he do? It was a rainy night, and his father had passed away, right? But yet he was so attracted to Chintamani. He was not even doing his duty of offering the final rites for his father. And it was so much raining, and it was there was no way he could cross the river. He had to cross a big river. It was raining heavily. There was no boatman available because of the huge rains. Then what did he do? He just he floated on a wood piece. That's what he thought. He thought that was a wood piece. He just floated to king the help of that. He went across the other side of the river. And then Chintamani used to live in the first floor. He thought a rope is hanging down from the window. The window is open. He thought the Chintamani must have dropped this rope for me. Maybe she's also waiting for me, right? When the illusion is closing our eyes, we think whatever is essential for our sense gratification, that is what is the fact, right? That's why, as long as Radhanath Swami Maharaj says, if you wear yellow color glasses, you see everything yellow. If you wear a green color glasses, you will see everything green. So in that way, he thought that this is a rope that has been dropped by Chintamani, and he climbs that rope, or so-called rope that he thinks. He goes up the window and then he meets Chintamani, and Chintamani is shocked to see Bilva Mangal Thakur. Why? Because he tells him that if you had shown so much of interest or so much an inclination to see the Supreme Lord, you would have seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when that one word from Chintamani came, immediately, Bilva Mangal Thakur, he was Bilva Mangal Thakur. He became Bilva Mangal Thakur actually, right? So he became so shaken that immediately he offered obeisances to Chintamani. And later on, when he became a great devotee of the Lord, he tells that Chintamani was my Vartma Prasaka Guru. She brought me. And later on, the Acharyas explain how that was not even a wood. That was a dead man. That was a dead body, which he had actually held on to in that rains to go and meet Chintamani. And what was hanging down was a snake. He was hung to a snake and he didn't even know. And then he went up. So this much of focus, Chintamani said that if you had to have darshan of the Lord, that's also applicable to all of us, right? We're all so passionate to acquire name, fame, glory, wealth, and all of the things of this material world. If we apply that kind of passion, if we apply that kind of focus, if we apply that kind of determination, if we apply that kind of enthusiasm in wanting to chant Hare Krishna, in wanting to sing the Lord's glories, in order to want to go to the Lord's various Leela Stalis, want to hear about the Lord, then we will be greatly benefited. We will be eternally benefited by having the association, the personal association of the Supreme Lord Himself. Yeah. So in that way, it is mentioned here that a devotee externally It may seem that a devotee has been cursed, or a particular devotee or has taken a lower form of life, or has gone into a lower species of life, maybe a deer, or born in a Mohammedan family, whatever, right? But by the grace of the Lord, the devotee remembers whatever devotional service he has done in his previous life, and quickly, like how this Bilva Mangal Thakur, immediately this one word from Chintamani immediately left everything and he went to Vrindavan, isn't it? So a devotee of the Lord remembers, and even if the devotee forgets because of the will of the Lord, like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, immediately after the 3 lifetimes they went back home, back to Godhead in the service of Lord Hari, isn't it? So a devotee externally, whatever situation he may be placed in, externally he may seem to be not performing devotional service, externally he may be, that is the reason we should never comment on a devotee. You should never comment on anybody, because externally we may feel that somebody is not a devotee, somebody is in Maya, but we have no authority to decide about anybody, because we don't have the vision. We ourselves are struggling in our spiritual life. What right do we have to comment about anybody else, right? That person might be a great devotee, and we will fall down by commenting, and that person will immediately a particular situation arise, and that person that may have been 90%, 95% devotee, immediately that person will attain Goloka Vrindavan Dham, and we will be falling down. Why? Because we have unnecessarily used our tongue, right? The tongue is very voracious, right? Simply by misusing the tongue, we can fall down. But if we are able to control our tongue, right? And like Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiba Vegam, Udaropashta Vegam, Etan Vegan Yovisheta Diraha, Sarvam Apimam Pratvimsa Sishat. In this verse, Prabhupada talks in the purport how the tongue, the belly, and the genitals are in the same line. Simply by controlling the tongue, one can control the belly, one can control the genitals, right? But if we unnecessarily engage the tongue wrongly, what happens? Immediately we have fallen down. And then if that's why we were discussing in the morning Brahmavrata program, there is a very beautiful verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This verse talks about checking our progress in Krishna consciousness, right? Very, very beautiful verse, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. It talks about what is that? Shantiravyartha kalatvam viraktirmana shunyatha. Shantir, as much as we are peaceful in our life, we are surrendered to the Lord, we are not anxious. This is one parameter for us to measure our progress in devotional service. Shantir, avyartha kalatvam, not wasting time, utilizing every second in the service of the Lord. Shantir avyartha kalatvam viraktirmana shunyatha. Viraktir, being detached from material things, right? Being a yukta vairagi, be utilizing everything in the service of the Lord, but not being attached to anything for sense gratification. Viraktir, mana shunyata. Mana shunyata means to offer all respects to others without expecting any in return, right? Trinadapisunichena tarori vasaishna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari, right? So, what is that? Shantiravyartha kalatvam viraktirmana shunyatha, not expecting any respect in return. Ashabhanda samudkanta, Ashabhanda, having the hope that Krishna will deliver me. Avashya Rakshibe, Krishna will deliver me. Krishna will give me protection, right? Ashabhanda samudkanta. Samudkanta means eagerness to wanting to perform devotional service. Ashabhanda samudkanta namagane sada ruchihi, having taste in chanting Hare Krishna. 4 points, right? And then ashakti stadguna kyane. Ashakti means wanting is if one is attached to singing the glories of the Lord. Priti stadvasati sthale, also having the laulyam or the great desire or love to wanting to visit those Leela Stalis of the Lord, want to hear the Leelas of the Lord. If anybody has these 6 things growing in his life, iti adayor anubhavasyor, right? If anybody is anubhava, means if anybody is growing in his feeling towards all these 6 things which are favorable for bhakti, what will happen? Jate bhavankure jane, such person is progressing in devotional service. right? Because if we do all these things and continue to want to do more of hearing about the Lord, visiting the Leela Stalis of the Lord, offering all respects to others, not expecting any respect in return, having the hope will Krishna will protect me always, then samutkantaha, eagerness to perform devotional service, then such a person will not have time for prajalpa, will not have time for gramya katha, will not have time for Vaishnava Prad, and whatever situation one may be placed in, one will want to progress in each of those 6 things. This we can call as our bhakti tracker. How much of taste we have in performing all of these things, that will determine our progress in devotional service. So internally we can evaluate ourselves, right? So that's why this is given. This is not to evaluate others. When we evaluate others, we will fall down for sure, right? Because we don't know who's a Vaishnava, who's not a Vaishnava. And we also know everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. Mamevamcho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Right? Some of us are forgetting, some of us are remembering, but the Lord will not accept. Like Prabhupada tells in a lecture, a father will not like it. Even if somebody talks bad about his disobedient son. Why? Because he is my son. I will tell him, I will correct him. Who are you to talk about my son? Isn't it? So similarly, we are all children of the Lord. If we commit aparadh towards any other living entity, the Lord will not like it. And why are we? As devotees, that is the most important thing for us. We want to do what is favorable for devotional service. We don't want to do anything that is not favorable. Why? Because if we do something that's not favorable, Krishna is not going to like it. And that will impede our process of bhakti. All right. So let's move ahead with the second verse, the last verse for today. 5.1.6. Okay, so we'll just try to read this the best of our ability. Okay, I hope the screen is visible. Yarhi vavaha rajan sarajaputra priyavratah parama bhagavata naradasya charanopashe vayancha savagata paramartha satatvo brahmashatrena दीक्षिक्षामाणो अवनीतल परिपालनायाम्नाथ प्रवरगुण गुणैकान्त भाजनताय स्वपित्रोपामन्त्रितो भगवती वासुदेव एवाव्य वदना समाधियोगेन समावेशित सकलकारक क्रियाकलापो नैवाभ्यनन्दद् यद्यापि तद् अप्रत्याम्नातव्यं तद् अधिकारण आत्मनो अनस्माद् असतोपि पराभवम् अन्वीक्षमानः. Okay, synonyms, word meaning. Shobita Krishna Kanta Mataji can read synonyms. Shobha Mataji translation. Sumangala Mataji can read the purport. Yes, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, then with pranams. Synonyms. Yarhi, because, Vav, ha, indeed, Rajan, O king, Sah, he, Rajaputra, the prince, Priyavrataha, Priyavrat, Parama, supreme, Bhagavataha, devotee, Naradasya of Narad, Charana, the lotus feet, Upasevaya by serving, Anjasa quickly, Avagata became aware of, Parama Artha transcendental subject matter, Sa Tatvatah with all knowable facts, Brahma Satrena by continuous discussion of the Supreme, Dikshisha Manaha, desiring to fully dedicate himself, Avni Tala, the surface of the globe, Paripalanaya, to rule over, Amanatha, directed in the revealed scriptures, Pravara, highest guna of qualities, Gana, the sum total, Ekanta, without deviation, Bhajanatya, because of his possessing, Swapitra, by his father, Upamantritya, being asked, Bhagavati, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, the all-pervading God, ever certainly, Avyavadhana, without cessation, Samadhi Yogena, by practicing yoga in complete absorption, Samaveshita, completely dedicated, Sakala, all, Karaka, senses, Kriya Kalapaha, whose total activities, Na not, eva thus, Abhayanadat, welcomed, Yadyapi, although that, Apratyatmanavyam, not to be rejected for any, Apratyamanatavyam, not to be rejected for any reason. Tat adhikarena, in occupying that post, atmanah of himself, anyasmat by other engagements, asatah material, api certainly, prabhavam deterioration, anvikshamana for seeing. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Very nicely read.
Hare Krishna, translation by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear King, Prince Priyavrata was a great devotee because he sought the lotus feet of Narada, his spiritual master, and thus achieved the highest perfection in transcendental knowledge. With advanced knowledge, he always engaged in discussing spiritual subjects and did not divert his attention to anything else. The prince's father then asked him to take charge of ruling the world. He tried to convince Priyavrata that this was his duty as indicated in the revealed scriptures. Prince Priyavrata, however, was continuously practicing bhakti yoga by constantly remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus engaging all his senses in the service of the Lord. Therefore, although the order of his father could not be rejected, the prince did not welcome it. Thus, he very conscientiously raised the question of whether he might be diverted from devotional service by accepting the responsibilities of ruling over the world. Hari Bol, Dandavats. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Purport by
Yeah.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Srila
Mataji, please
Narottama
read
Dasa
only
Thakur.
the highlighted portions. Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear King, Prince Priyavrata was a great devotee because he sought the lotus feet of Narada, his spiritual master, and thus achieved the highest perfection in transcendental knowledge. The prince's father then asked him to take charge of ruling the world. He tried to convince Priyavrata that this was his duty as indicated in the revealed scripture. Prince Priyavrata, however, was continuously practicing bhakti yoga by constantly remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus engaging all his senses in the service of the Lord. Srila Narottama Dasa Thakura, who has sung Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Paeche Keba. Without serving the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava or spiritual master, no one has ever attained perfect liberation from the material bondage. Prince Priyavrata regularly served the lotus feet of Narada, and thus the prince perfectly understood transcendental subjects in truth. Satatvataha. The word Satatvataha means that Priyavrata knew all the facts about the spirit soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, and the relationship between the spirit soul and the supreme personality of Godhead. And he also knew all about this material world and the relationship of the spirit soul and the supreme Lord within the material world. Thus, the prince decided to engage himself only in rendering service to the Lord. Even though engaged in worldly affairs, he does not take pleasure in them, but remains always absorbed in the Lord's service. While thus serving the Lord, he deals externally with the worldly affairs without being affected. For example, although he has no attraction for his children, he cares for them and educates them to become devotees. Similarly, he speaks to his wife with affectionate words, but he is not attached to her. By rendering devotional service, a devotee acquires all the good qualities of the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna had 16,000 wives. All of them were very beautiful, and although he dealt with each of them as a beloved husband, he was not attracted or attached to any of them. In the same way, although a devotee may enter family life and act very affectionately toward his wife and children, he is never attached to these activities. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru तस्यैते katitha hi artaha prakashante mahatmanaha. If one has unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master, and the essence of all Vedic knowledge is revealed to him. Shvetashvara Upanishad 6.23. A devotee always thinks of the Lord continuously. While chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the words Krishna and Hare immediately remind him of all the Lord's activities. Since his entire life is engaged in the service of the Lord, a devotee cannot forget. This is called Brahmasatra, or meditating upon the Supreme Lord always. Prince Priyavrata was perfectly initiated into this practice by Sri Narada. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, there's a very, very 3-4 points we will discuss because we are almost at the time now. 3-4 very important points from this purport. If you can see, the first one is Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yata Deve Tata Gurau, right? Tasyaita hi kathartam prakashante mahatmanaha. Mahatmanaha, the gurus, they have already realized the transcendental truth. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. What is this tattva? Tattva is transcendental knowledge. Tattva is the Sambandha Gyan, Abhidaya Gyan, and Prayojana Gyan, right? And that cannot be understood by study of the scriptures. Ata Sri Krishna Namadi, Na Bhavet Grahyam Indriyahi, Sevon Mukehi Jivadav, Swayameva Suratyadaha. The Nam Rupa Guna Leela of the Lord cannot be understood by our material senses. However, when we surrender to our gurus and after receiving instruction from our gurus to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which Yugadharma for the age of Kali, and then we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then the Lord will reveal himself to us according to our sincerity, according to our surrender to the Lord, knowing that the Lord is different from his holy name. So that is the first one. Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yada Deve Tata Guru. We should have implicit faith in Guru and Gauranga. And then the Katihi Artham, that means the purport of the transcendental knowledge will be revealed in our heart, and it will be revealed by Prakashante Mahatmanaha. It will be revealed to us by the bona fide gurus. Gurus, it's not one guru, right? We have so many gurus. We have a Vartama Pratarshika guru, like Chintamani. The prostitute was the Vartama Pratarshika guru of Bilmangal Thakur, isn't it? And yet she played a very important role because of her, he was reawakened to bhakti and immediately went to Vrindavan. So the role of Vartama Pratarshika guru is very important. And then the role of Diksha Guru is very important because the Diksha Guru takes away all the karmas, and also officially he connects us to the Guru Parampara. That we are all part of Brahma, Madhava, Gaudiya, Vaishnava, Guru Parampara. That connection is established by our Diksha Guru. And all of our Siksha Gurus are very important because they only enable us, empower us, teach us, guide us to render service according to the instructions of our Diksha Guru, right? So in that way, all of our Gurus are worthy of utmost respect and obedience, right? And when we obey and when we follow their instructions in a nice way, when we please the Guru, then we will please Krishna. Yasya prasadat Bhagavat prasada yasya prasadanna gati kutopi. There is no gati, there is no other way other than pleasing our gurus to please Lord Sri Krishna. So that's the first point. Yasya Devi Parabhaktir. And what do the gurus teach? That is the second point. Sa tattvataha. What is that tattva? Tattva is Sambandha Gyan. Jeevara Swarupe Krishna Nityadas. I am an eternal servant of the Lord. Abhidaya Gyan. Okay, I am the servant of the Lord. What should I do? I should do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. Right? When I engage in this process of bhakti, what happens? Prayojana. I will reawaken my love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaya Udaya. So when we hear about the Lord, speak about the Lord, visit the Leela Stalis of the Lord, hear the Leelas of the Lord, offer all respects to others, have a complete hope that Krishna will protect me, right? And Namagane Sadaruchihi, right? Also have this, have also develop slowly the taste to chant Hare Krishna. When we don't commit Vaishnava Aparadh, when we take to our heart, when our life and soul is dedicated, the following instructions of our gurus, then Namagane Sada Ruchi. The Ruchi taste will be given as a blessing by our gurus to wanting to chant Hare Krishna always. And simply by chanting Hare Krishna, rendering these wonderful devotional services, the topmost 5 angas of devotional service, Sadhu Sangha, Namakirtana, Bhagavata Shravana, Mathuravasa, Srimurtaya, Shraddhaya, Sevana, will perform, develop taste for all these things, which will in turn help us enable taste for chanting Hare Krishna. And by the causeless mercy of Guru, when we chant Hare Krishna, perform devotional service, avoid Vaishnava Aparadh, remove all the weeds in our devotional service, then we'll attain the desired success. Right? It's only Jayapataka Swami Srila Guru Maharaj was telling in one session how our Bhakti Lata, somehow or the other, we got this bija, Brahmani Brahmiti Gona Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata bija. With the mercy of the Guru and mercy of Krishna, we got the Bhakti Lata Bija, we got the seed of devotional service. We need to water this seed of devotional service we need to protect and water. We water by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mantra. We protect from unnecessary weeds also growing simultaneously. Right? Guru Maharaj said we have to become an expert gardener. What does an expert gardener do? The gardener provides the plant with what it needs and removes unnecessary weeds so that the plant can grow very, very nicely. Right? And it requires adequate sunlight. which is the association of devotees. It requires proper watering, which is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and removal of weeds. That means remove all the unnecessary desires in our heart. Remove the desire for Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, Kavitamba. Right? I don't want attraction to the opposite sex. I don't want wealth. I don't want na dhanam, na janam. I don't want name, fame, glory. I don't want innumerable followers. Right? I simply want my bhakti creeper to grow very nicely. And Guru Maharaj was saying how that bhakti lata, when it is, the bhakti lata means the bhakti creeper grows very nicely when provided adequate sunlight, water, in the form of association of devotees, in the form of studying of the scriptures, in the association of devotees, in the form of chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, in the association of the devotees, and removing all the weeds, cutting to the root all the weeds. Then this bhakti lata very, very nicely moves, crosses over the Mahatattva, reaches the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. First it bears the fruits. First it bears flowers, very beautiful buds and flowers blossom. That's the bhava stage. And ultimately the fruits of Krishna Prema will manifest. Right? And that is Krishna Prema, right? The fruit, Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam, the phala or the objective or the goal is attained when that creeper goes and rests at the lotus feet of the Lord and bears the fruit of Krishna Prema. So until such time, as sadhaka bhaktas, we need to study the scriptures in association of devotees, chant Hare Krishna mantra with a sincere desire. Oh Krishna, may there be no other desire in my heart other than the desire to serve, satisfy and please Guru and Gauranga. So with such sincerity, when we chant Hare Krishna, then Krishna will give us the guidance, right? Tasma, what is that verse? Very beautiful verse, 10.11. Of course, 8, 9, 10, 11, they're all talking about Sambandha, Abhidya and Prayojana. 10.8 says, Sarvasya Prabhu. We'll just go through 8, 9, 10, 11. 10.8 says, is a Sambandha Gyan, right? Am Sarvasya Prabhu, Matta Sarvam Pravartate, Iti Matva Bhajante Mam, Udabhava Samanvitaha. Right? So in this way, Krishna is saying, everything emanates from me. I am the source of the material and the spiritual worlds. So that's the Sambandha Gyan. Right? Krishna is the source of everything. I am provided everything by Krishna. So it's my duty to serve Krishna. Then, Machittamat Kata Prana Bodhyanta Parasparam Kata Yantasya Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So devotees, when they understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, I am supposed to be the servant of the Lord, they engage in these activities. They discuss with each other about the Lord. Bodhyanta Parasparam, they relish themselves by hearing about the Lord and speaking about the Lord. And then Krishna says, Tesam satati yuktanam pachatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite. Right? Due to those people who are engaged and always engaging in my devotional service, who talk about me, who relish discussing my pastimes, I give them the intelligence by which they can come back to me. Tesham evanukam partam, like Mataji was saying this verse. Tesham evanukam partam aham ajnanajam tamaha. Nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvataha. The Lord will light the lamp of transcendental knowledge in our heart, provided we are sincere. And the Lord will take responsibility to clear the garbage of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Provided we only have to desire that I want to serve the instructions of my Guru. I want to follow the instructions of my Guru. I have this lolium to attain Krishna Prema in this lifetime. So we dedicate this one life in serving Guru, in serving the instructions of our Gurus. Then what happens? We'll please our Gurus. Then this will please Krishna. And by Krishna's mercy, we will attain Krishna Prema. So thank you very much, dear devotees. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Thank you. It's 10:40. So we will end here. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dandavat pranams to all.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Vancha kalpatarubyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna to all.